Maya Pierce was tired but happy as she walked through the busy Denver International Airport. Her 10-hour flight from Lisbon had been long and full of delays. All she wanted now was a warm shower, a cup of tea, and her own bed. The luggage carousel was crowded with travelers fighting to grab their bags. Maya pushed her loose hair behind her ear, waited for the black suitcases to roll past, and spotted hers at last. It was a simple black case with a small blue ribbon tied near the handle so she could find it easily. Without checking twice, she pulled it off the carousel, dragged it across the floor, and hurried toward the exit. Her phone buzzed with several messages from her best friend, reminding her to rest and not get lost again. Maya laughed softly, kicking her sneakers against the floor. She had a habit of misplacing small things during trips, but she had never grabbed the wrong suitcase before. At least she thought she had made it this far without a problem. She found her car in the parking lot, threw the suitcase in the back seat, and drove toward her small apartment on the edge of the city. Denver was still quiet in the early morning light. The streets were half empty, and the cool air brushed softly against her face through the open window. When she reached her apartment building, she took the elevator up to the 4th floor and sighed in relief as she entered her cozy space. It smelled faintly of the lavender candle she had forgotten to blow out last time. She set the black suitcase on the couch and stretched her arms high above her head. Then she opened the case and froze. Inside were perfectly folded designer suits, pressed shirts, a pair of expensive shoes, and a small box holding a sleek silver watch. There were no camera lenses, no colorful scarves, no sketchbook, and definitely no packet of cinnamon tea. At first she laughed. Maybe she was too tired and looking in the wrong place. She checked again and again, opening every zipper, but nothing in this suitcase belonged to her. The realization came slowly, like a trick played by fate. She had taken someone else's luggage. She bit her lip, half embarrassed, half amused. Among the neat clothes was a slim black notebook. The handwriting inside was neat and careful, full of short notes about meetings, business deals, and what looked like personal reminders. Near the back were pages with handwritten song lyrics. That part startled her. The words spoke of silence, loneliness, and the wish to find something that felt real. Maya felt strange reading them and quickly closed the notebook, but a soft curiosity stayed with her. Who wrote something so personal and yet so perfectly ordered? Several miles away in a high-rise apartment overlooking the city, Ethan Cole frowned over his open suitcase. The man had made a name for himself as one of the youngest technology company CEOs in the country. He believed in control, in systems, in things being exactly where they should be. Now he found himself staring at a messy pile of paints, half-used film rolls, colorful scarves, and a pack of cinnamon tea. His clothes were nowhere to be found. His assistant tried not to laugh as Ethan's calm voice began to slip into disbelief. Someone had taken his bag, and he had taken theirs. Only one suitcase in the world seemed to match his own so closely. The airline staff promised to trace it as soon as possible. Ethan wrote down the tag number, checked the details, and waited. He imagined the person who had his bag as clumsy or careless, maybe even rude. He didn't know that she was an artist with a warm laugh and a habit of talking to the sky when she took photos. Maya decided to call the airport customer desk. She explained her mistake and gave the luggage tag. The officer told her the owner had already reported his missing bag. They promised to arrange a meeting for the exchange later that day. The staff mentioned the owner's name, Ethan Cole. Maya blinked. The name sounded familiar. She quickly searched online and felt her stomach twist when she saw his picture smiling from a business magazine cover. The man whose luggage she had grabbed by mistake was a famous CEO with a reputation for being sharp and impatient. Maya groaned and looked at the mess of suits on her couch. This was going to be awkward. Still, she couldn't stop laughing at herself. Fate had a strange sense of humor. Somewhere out there, a serious businessman was probably holding her paintbrushes and wondering why a person would need 3 kinds of camera film. She only hoped he had a good sense of patience. As she packed the suitcase carefully to return it, she looked again at that notebook filled with careful words and hidden songs. She wondered what kind of heart hid behind the man who wrote them. Something told her she was about to find out very soon. The next afternoon, Maya stood near the glass doors of the airport's lost and found office holding the black suitcase tightly by the handle. She had arrived early, but her heart still beat fast. She kept checking the time on her phone as travelers hurried around her. When the automatic doors opened and a tall man in a gray coat stepped inside, she knew at once that it was him. His posture was straight, his walk calm and steady, his eyes sharp and tired. Ethan Cole looked exactly like the photos she had seen online, but he seemed even more serious in person. Their eyes met for a short second before he spoke. "Miss Pierce, I believe you have something that belongs to me." His voice was polite but cold. Maya managed a nervous smile and held up the suitcase. "I think your assistant told you, right? I think you have mine as well." He gave a small nod and lifted her colorful luggage into view. They exchanged bags with awkward care. Ethan opened his suitcase slightly, checking that all his items were still inside, while Maya decided to speak first. "I am really sorry about this. The suitcases looked exactly the same. I did not mean to cause trouble." Ethan looked up from the case, his expression unreadable. "It happens. I usually believe people double-check before leaving an international airport." His sharp tone made Maya bite her tongue. "Well, maybe I was distracted after being awake for 12 hours. Not everyone works on clockwork like you." She regretted the words as soon as they left her mouth, but to her surprise his lips almost formed a smile. That much is clear. She looked down at the floor, unsure whether to laugh or stay quiet. He closed the suitcase and held out the small black notebook she had found. "Did you happen to read this?" His question sounded more like a statement. "A little. Just enough to know those are your words. You have a gift, you know. They are beautiful." Ethan blinked slowly as if he did not expect praise. "They are unfinished notes. It's not meant for anyone's eyes." She nodded. "Still, they say something real. Should finish them." For a long moment neither spoke. The noise of travelers came and went, but the two of them stood apart from it, strangers tied together by a simple mistake. Ethan closed the notebook and slipped it into his coat pocket. "You are a photographer, aren't you?" She nodded again, eyes brightening. "That's right. I travel and take pictures from magazines. People, landscapes, small stories. So you see beauty in everything, not in everything," she said, smiling softly. "Only in the things that refuse to stay dull." His face softened. The cool businessman mask slipped a little, revealing a tired man who might have forgotten what that kind of light-hearted view felt like. He thanked her for returning the suitcase, then started to leave. Maya watched him walk away until he disappeared behind the crowd, but she told herself that it was the end of the strange mix-up. Yet when she reached her car, she kept thinking about his eyes. Calm and distant, like a closed window, hiding something warmer behind it. Ethan spent the drive back to his office trying to focus on his upcoming meeting. He told himself that the encounter was over. Still, his mind replayed her laugh, the flash of paint stains on her sleeves, and how easily she had spoken about things he rarely shared. He had lived years behind structure and order. Her easy honesty had felt unfamiliar, almost dangerous. That night, Ethan sat at his desk with the black notebook open. His pen hovered above the blank space where his last verse had ended. The words refused to form. Instead, he found himself sketching the outline of a woman with a camera around her neck. He closed the notebook quickly and turned off the light, blaming fatigue. Yet something restless stirred in him that no business plan could calm. Maya spent her evening sorting through photos from her latest trip. Lisbon's streets, sunsets, faces she had captured along the way. But everything seemed quieter than usual. She made herself some tea, the same cinnamon kind that Ethan had probably noticed in her bag. She wondered if he had thought of her too. The city outside flickered with countless windows, each holding a different story. In one of them sat a man who could not stop thinking of a woman who had taken his suitcase. In another sat that same woman, wondering why the memory of meeting a stranger could feel like the start of something. Neither knew what the coming days would bring, only that the wrong turn at an airport had placed a new direction quietly inside both their lives. A week later, the city was alive with lights and chatter as one of the largest charity galas of the season began. The event celebrated creative projects supported by local businesses and technology companies. Maya walked through the entrance with her camera bag over her shoulder, her mind focused on capturing good photographs. She had been hired by a magazine to cover the gala and had spent all week planning her shots. The hall shimmered with white lights and soft music filled the air. Waiters moved between tables carrying trays while guests chatted in polished voices. Maya loved events like this because she could watch people when they thought no one noticed the way they smiled, moved, or looked at each other. Her camera always told stories that words could not. She lifted the lens to her eye and began snapping pictures of the guests, adjusting her angles and lighting. Then across the room she saw him, Ethan Cole. The man whose suitcase she had once taken by mistake stood near the stage talking to a few guests. He wore a black suit with a silver tie. His expression was still calm, but his shoulders seemed less tense than before.
Ouch.
For a brief second she froze. I had not expected to see him again. Ethan noticed her at almost the same moment. Surprise flickered in his eyes, quickly followed by something careful and curious. When he excused himself from the group and started walking toward her, Maya nearly bumped into a waiter carrying glasses of water. She steadied herself and tried to act calm. "I did not think we would run into each other again," Ethan said when he reached her. "Neither did I," she replied, smiling nervously. "I guess we both attend interesting places." "I am one of the sponsors," he said, looking around the hall. "My company supports this project that connects artists with technology." "That explains the suit," Maya teased lightly. "You look less scary than last time?" He raised an eyebrow, a small hint of amusement lighting his face. "I was not trying to be scary. Could have fooled me," she said. The short tension faded, replaced by quiet laughter. For a while they stood together watching guests mingle. He asked about her photography and the countries she had visited. She recounted brief moments from her travels, how Lisbon had narrow alleys bright with color, and how the sky looked clearer when she took photos at sunrise. Ethan listened as if each word painted a picture in front of him. Later, the events coordinator approached Maya and told her that one of the photographers had canceled. They needed someone to take portraits of the main sponsors with the young artists who had received grants. Maya agreed quickly. When they called Ethan's name, Maya had to take his photo with a group of students. He stood beside them, polite but reserved, until Maya told everyone to smile. "Come on, Mr. Cole," she said. "Pretend you were on vacation for once." The line sounded playful, but it made Ethan laugh softly. And in that instant, she captured a perfect picture. When the portraits were done, Maya turned her camera off and carried her equipment near the balcony to take a short break. The night air was cool and smelled faintly of rain. She leaned on the railing, looking over the city lights. A few minutes later, Ethan joined her holding 2 glasses of sparkling water. He handed one to her without a word. "Thank you," she said softly. "You have a good eye," he told her. "That photo you took earlier might be my first real smile at an event like this." "That's my secret job," she said. "Finding real smiles." He looked at her, thoughtful. "Do you always travel alone?" "Most of the time. My work keeps me moving. It is easier that way." "That sounds lonely," sometimes, she said. "But every place has its own warmth. Taking pictures keeps me close to people even if I do not know them long." Ethan nodded. "I used to travel a lot too, but meetings and deadlines killed the fun. Maybe I forgot how to look at things the way you do. Maybe you just need to look through my lens," she said, handing him her camera. He hesitated, then took it carefully. Through the lens, the city lights became soft and colorful. Maya stood beside him and quietly adjusted the focus. Their hands brushed for a second, and both felt the spark of that simple contact. They stood that way longer than expected, silent but calm, facing the view together. When the gala began to close, they walked back inside. Ethan thanked her again for the photo and offered to give her a ride home. She refused politely, saying she preferred to walk after long events. Before leaving, he said, "If my company ever needs a photographer, I will call you first." Maya smiled. "I'll hold you to that, Mr. Cole." As she stepped into the street, she looked once more at the hall behind her. The city lights reflected in the glass doors, and she caught the faint image of Ethan still watching her from inside. Something gentle and uncertain had started between them, like a soft thread waiting to pull them closer again. The next few weeks moved fast. Maya and Ethan began working together on a small project that joined art and technology. Ethan's company wanted to launch a campaign showing how creativity could blend with modern inventions. Maya was asked to design the visual side while Ethan would handle the business part. At first, both were unsure how it would work. He liked strict plans while she followed her instincts. But soon they found a rhythm, meeting often at her small studio or his wide office full of quiet energy. Sometimes they argued. When Ethan wanted a clean, professional tone, Maya pushed for color and freedom. When she wanted experiment, he reminded her about deadlines. Yet beneath those small clashes, a connection grew stronger each day. They shared coffee during long evenings, exchanged music suggestions, and spoke about their pasts in small steps. Maya learned how Ethan had built his company from nothing after long years of study and risk. Ethan learned about Maya's first camera, a gift from her father who had always told her to see the world in full light. One afternoon they stood together reviewing a large screen showing their work, and the pictures and designs looked bright and full of life. Ethan watched Maya's face as she smiled proudly. "Really see stories and colors?" he said quietly. She looked at him and replied, "And you see order in chaos. We balance each other." Those words stayed with him longer than he expected. He began to look forward to her messages, her cheerful energy, her laughter that sometimes broke his serious thoughts. The people around him noticed he had changed. He smiled more often and left his phone untouched during meetings. His assistant commented that he seemed lighter. Ethan only smiled again but said nothing. Then the calm began to shake. A reporter from an online magazine discovered they were working together. Within days, social media filled with rumors that the famous CEO was getting close to a photographer for attention and personal gain. Articles claimed Maya had used the project to make her name through him. Pictures of them at the gala and during work meetings appeared everywhere. Some investors became concerned, and members of Ethan's board questioned whether the story might hurt the company's reputation. When Ethan walked into the boardroom one morning, several partners were waiting. They showed him printed copies of the article and spoke about protecting his brand. One of them said directly, "You need to end this partnership before it becomes a distraction." The words hit harder than he showed. He tried to explain that Maya's work was important for the project, but their tone remained firm. That evening he called Maya to meet at his office. She arrived quickly, looking worried. "Did something happen?" she asked as soon as she saw his face. Ethan took a deep breath. "There are stories online about us. The board wants to close the project with you and handle the rest internally." Maya's eyes widened. "You mean they want to remove me?" He nodded. "For now, till everything settles." "So you agree?" she asked quietly. He looked away. "I have to protect a lot of people's jobs. It's not personal." Her voice shook slightly. "It's personal to me, Ethan. We built this together." He could not find the right answer. Silence stretched between them. She picked up her bag and said, "I understand.
I will send the final files tonight."
Then she turned and left the room. After she was gone, Ethan stood near the window watching the city turn orange under the setting sun. His chest felt heavy. He told himself it was for the best. Yet everything inside him felt wrong. Maya tried to continue her work at home, but the joy she once felt seemed lost. Every picture she took looked dull, empty of color. Her friends told her to ignore the rumors, but the sting remained. She thought often of Ethan, wondering if he ever regretted it. She missed his quiet humor, his habit of asking small questions that made her think deeply. Weeks passed. Ethan finished the campaign presentation, but when he looked at the final design on the screen, it felt lifeless. He realized her touch was gone. The warmth that balanced his precision had vanished. Late one night he opened his old black notebook. The pages still held half-finished song lyrics. He turned to a blank page and began to write again. This time not about work or ambition, but about a woman who saw the world in light, even when others lived in shade. His mother visited him one weekend and noticed his silence. When he explained what had happened, she said softly, "If someone brings meaning to your life, protect that meaning. Money and names fade, but some people do not return once lost." Her words stayed with him long after she left. The next morning, he closed the notebook and finally decided he could not let pride or fear control his heart any longer. The mistake was not the mix-up at the airport, but letting go of the only person who made his world feel alive again. The winter had started to fade when Maya walked through the same airport where her story with Ethan had first begun. She was leaving for a new photography project in South America, one that could keep her away for several months. Her heart felt both light and heavy at once. She had worked hard to regain her confidence after the rumors. The world had moved on, but part of her had never stopped thinking about the quiet man whose life had once crossed hers like a sudden spark. She checked her flight number, then sat near the gate with her camera resting in her lap. The waiting area was filled with the usual noise of travelers rushing to different destinations. Maya tried to focus on her travel plan, but her mind refused to stay still. She remembered Ethan's serious eyes, his steady voice, and how he used to listen when she spoke about colors and light. She wondered if he ever thought about her. A voice behind her said her name softly. She turned before she could stop herself. Ethan stood there, holding a suitcase that looked strangely familiar. The same black one with the small blue ribbon on the handle. For a moment, neither of them moved. It almost felt like time had circled back to give them another chance. "I heard you were leaving," he said, his tone careful. "I got another job," she replied, trying to keep her voice calm. "It is a long project. I fly out in an hour." He nodded slowly, then placed the suitcase beside her chair. "I never thanked you for that mistake at the airport. It taught me what my life was missing." Maya smiled gently. "I think we both learned something. You learn to be late sometimes, and I learned to double-check luggage." He laughed softly, and the sound broke the tension. Then he became serious again. "I also learned what it feels like to lose something that matters. I made that mistake again when I let you go. I was wrong, Maya." She looked down at her hands. "It was not your fault. People believe what they want to believe. I should have believed in you," he said. "I should have stood by you. I have spent months thinking about it. The board has forgotten the rumors now. The company has moved on."
But I have not.
He reached into his coat and pulled out a small notebook. The cover was new and brown, and written across the front in careful letters were the words "Dreams Shared." He handed it to her. "It is for you," he said. Maya opened it and saw a handwriting that was both neat and uncertain. Inside were short lines that read like gentle lyrics about courage, second chances, and finding home in unexpected places. She turned a few pages and felt tears form behind her eyes. "Ethan, these are beautiful." "They are not finished," he replied quietly. "Maybe they do not have to be. I wanted to give you something that comes from the part of me you helped wake up." She closed the notebook carefully and looked at him. "You did not have to come all this way." "Yes, I did," he said. "You once told me that you never stay in one place too long. You said your work keeps you moving. But maybe there is a reason to stop for a while if it feels right." Her flight began boarding, the sound of the announcement filling the air. Maya stood up, clutching her camera with one hand and the notebook with the other. "You know I have to go," she said softly. "I know," he said, "but I also know flights come back." She looked at him, her mind full of memories of the first time they met, of all the moments between, and of the silence that had followed. Then she smiled, a genuine warm smile that reached her eyes. "Maybe this time we can both be on the same flight." Ethan picked up his suitcase. "I already bought a ticket." "Same plane, same row." Her mouth fell open in surprise. "You planned this?" "I hoped," he said simply. When they walked toward the gate together, the air felt lighter, the noise around them fading into something bright and peaceful. As they stepped onto the ramp leading to the plane, Maya looked out at the long windows showing the morning sun. The light touched everything in gold. She thought of how accidents sometimes turn into beginnings, and how one small mistake with a suitcase had changed both their lives. On the plane, Ethan took the seat beside her. Neither spoke for a while. The engine began to hum, and through the small window the sky opened wide. Maya turned her head and found him watching her with quiet eyes. She smiled again, resting her head gently against the seat. Two strangers who had once lived in different worlds now shared a single path above the clouds. There was no promise about the future, only the simple truth that they had both chosen to move forward together. As the plane rose higher, their hands found each other and stayed that way, steady and sure, while the world below slowly disappeared under the soft light of a new beginning.